Yeah, just another week of learning our team, another week of our team probably learning themselves in the process of winning. So 1-3 on the week shows some good things and shows some bad things. And so, got to keep going, got to keep getting better. I do like being around this group. And, we're going to continue to grow. And I think our best baseball is ahead. You go back to Tuesday night at Northwestern State, you have a 5-0 lead and you have an 8-3 lead, right? And you got to win that game. And so Sheets opened up the game. And, I think he'd be the first one to tell you, the result is fine with 2 scoreless innings, but the process, like you can't walk 3 guys there. You need to get us another inning. And, we didn't pitch well that night. We didn't. It was hitters counts. I think we ended up walking 11, hitting 3. And so, the game just kind of snowballed on us in that aspect of giving them free runners and then a couple of miscues on defense. And so you score 10 runs, you should win the game. And, but we turned the page, got right back to work, went down to New Orleans. And then Friday, I thought Corley pitched well enough to win. We left too many runners on. That's the game where, we go 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position, and just we had a really unfortunate mistake, an inning-ending double play, and we don't make the play, right? And so then we give up. Twice we scored in 2 innings that game, and both times we go back out and we give up. We give up the lead, right? And so you jump up 3-0 with a three-run homer from Miranda, and then immediately it's 3-3, and then you go up 4-3. And, you give up the 2-run homer. So just the process of getting off the field, understanding, recognizing those moments. We've talked about that as a team. We have to recognize these moments in the game that we have to win. And then Saturday, just a rough start, right? And so, no matter who you're playing at this level, when you go 0-2 single to give up the game and then a hit by pitch, or to open up the game with a hit and then a hit by pitch and then a walk, like it's immediately you're in trouble, right? And so they get the knock to put them up. Broadnax rushes down to the pin, and so you look at it, you're playing an older team, right? And then of the 10 players in the game, you got 4 freshmen out there. And so, Broadnax wasn't super sharp, but that was good for his growth. But I tell you what, that day, losing that game, I was proud of the team and the fact that they stayed professional the entire time. I would make a mound or a pitching change, just talking to the infielders and the catcher. So your energy does not change on the dirt. I want you to stay professional and let's keep this thing going. I learned a lot about my team that day of how they're going to carry themselves and how they're going to continue to fight. And so you get down 9 or 10-1, whatever it was, and then you have the go-ahead run up at the plate in the 8th inning, right? And so we just didn't get it done with that AB. But, and there's nothing to talk about after that game. I didn't say a word to them. They just, we have to pitch better, right? And so, you kind of look at it, the 2 games you pitched well enough to win last week, you didn't hit, so you're battling complementary baseball right there. And, I was just really proud of the team and staying professional. And the next day they show back up on the road and have a really dominant win against UNO. I mean, what an outing from J.C. Dermody. 7 strikeouts, not 1 walk. That's exactly what we needed. The presence and tempo was really, really, really good. And that's what we talk about, the presence and tempo, okay, and then flooding the strike zone, dominating the first 3 pitches, and then executing 2-strike pitches. And he was great. That was a shot in the arm for the staff. I thought, again, the offense showed what they can really be. Like, just, I like where we hold our ground. We get hit by pitches. I thought we did a good job of drawing our walks. And, we got some timely hits there. I thought the top of the order with Mosey, Blazer, Dean, Haggard, like those guys, I think they combined for 8 hits that game. Like, that's what we need from those guys right there, taking over the game right there. Really proud of them. Really proud of the team for responding and ending the week. What was prior a bad week, ending on a really good note. And so it was a good bus ride home. We had a good talk after, got some good food. We'll have a light day today and get going. But overall, I think, for us, as we continue learning this team, we got to put these guys in the right position to succeed, okay? And so we're going to make an adjustment to the weekend rotation, and we'll be fine with that. I think that's going to help. We'll get more efficient with some things, and we have 2 weeks to kind of see how that goes before conference play starts, but I'm excited about it. Obviously our 2 left-handed pitchers give us a chance to win with their starts. Corley wasn't his sharpest the other day, but again, he pitched well enough to win. We got to get off the field on that inning double play. And then across the board with pitching, Coach Cox is really, really good, really proactive. We're going to simplify some things across the board. Any changes, we talked about this, it needs to be a mentality over anything mechanical. And so we're going to do that this week and address a lot of stuff, change up some things in the way we're doing it. And I want to see some guys respond. I want to see some guys, change it, okay, and grab their career and their outings by the horns. And they're more than capable of doing it. And if we can do that, our best baseball is ahead, no question. Yesterday, it was great to see former players at our game. Former head coach Jeff Shake Snyder was there. It was good to catch up with him, and he was ecstatic to see us on the field and was very complimentary of our team. We'll get DuPont back this week, who went through concussion protocol. He wasn't down there with us on the trip at all. And so, you shuffle around some things on the infield when he's out there, and the ball immediately finds some people. So that's just the way the game works, all right? And so another 5-game week. So guys are going to throw. Guys are going to get put into the game, and, we need to take advantage of this opportunity. And so it's an exciting week to bounce back. Not the week we wanted, but again, learning this team, our guys learning the process. There's not a lot of winning experience on the field, okay? We need to recognize these moments. This team, we can play better baseball, and I think it's coming. They're enjoyable to be around. I enjoy teaching them the game. Our staff enjoys teaching them the game. Their professionalism is really, really exciting. I know I keep talking about that and bringing that up, but it's a real thing as we get going forward, and as the middle of the season gets here. I'm excited to see us get better.
We got to start with Brant Corley and what he's done. Coming off injury a year ago, didn't pitch, has taken on a bigger role than he had before his injury, and answered the bell for you. Just what are you seeing from Brant through his first 2 starts?
Yeah, well, I think he needs to realize that sometimes. Like, man, you took a year off. And he wants to go out there and throw a no-hitter, right? And so we need him to. I want him to trust the process of what we're doing. He takes really good care of his body, really good care. I like his durability on the mound. And, when he's on and flooding the strike zone, he's tough to hit. And so, he understands what he needs to do better. I think it's the decision pitches, those first 3. When we can put a guy away with 2 strikes, let's execute the pitch and keep that pitch count efficient. But he's been really good, really, really good. But he'd be the first one to tell you there's some things that he can do better. And I think it's both just his thought process towards the game. I think that's just, he's an older player, but I think the maturation process still has some room for him relative to his outings and, attacking certain hitters and just kind of looking at stuff from a bigger view sometimes, And so we've had that conversation with him. He takes coaching. He enjoys coaching. And we need him to continue progressing. That's 2 outings now, 2 starts in the last almost 2 years for him, right? And so I'm proud of what he can be, and we need to continue moving forward because he can be really, really, really good for us.
Got to ask about Justin and just 2 rough starts for him, as you said, kind of mixing things up in the weekend rotation a little bit this week. But just how much do you need him? Because when he's on, he's got really good stuff. It just seems like he's kind of struggled the first 2 outings.
Yeah, we're going to push him. We're going to put him in a position that he can succeed. He'll be fine. We have his back. He needs to respond to this the right way. He's responded to some other stuff in a way that I really like. But, yeah, you're exactly right. He needs to understand that we need him, okay? And so he needs to be ready to go as early as tomorrow. He needs to be ready to go, and I think he understands that. And I'm looking forward to how he will respond. This is big for him. This is big. And so obviously, those 2 outings kind of just kind of stretch some guys and put it in a blender there those first 2 weeks with all these games. But we can find some good from this for sure. With that arm talent, if he can get exactly where he wants to be, he can be really, really lethal out of the pen. Obviously when you come out of the pen, I want immediate strikes. Okay, and so that's going to be the adjustment there. And again, like I said earlier, probably a mentality thing over mechanical. But we have J. Rob's back. We're going to meet today and tackle what we need to do. And, I want to see him respond. This is a really big moment, not for his career, just in his life in general. We have his back. And I want to see him get to where he needs to be. Because if he is good in this, whatever this next role is going to be, obviously it gives us a better chance to win.
I got to ask you about JC Sunday. I mean, like you said, a big way for him to come through, go 6 innings for you. But to be a veteran guy, even though he's new to this program, I mean, essentially everybody's new with the staff being here. But how has he kind of maybe taken on a bit of a leadership role? It seems to be able to anchor down the weekend for you and do the job.
He leads by example. I think I've heard him say about 7 words since he's been here. He goes about his business the right way. I thought he did a really good job when he showed up. Kind of wiry, kind of frail, not frail, but just he's improved his body, okay? And you can kind of see his durability last night. He came out of the game, to go 6 innings like that, 100 pitches. He comes off, not this time of year, but probably could have finished the game. I mean, he was just really, really efficient. The tempo is incredible to play behind, and just to stand in the dugout and watch. The infielders, that's what they want. A guy that's immediately ready to pitch, gets the ball back, doesn't move far from the rubber, and is ready to go again. And so, that was great for him to go 6 innings, and then you hand it off to Hess, in his hometown, gets in there. I think he goes 3 with 5 punches, and just, again, he can even be better in those innings right there, getting to 0-1. And he knows that, but I think that was special for him, kind of a homecoming as a New Orleans kid to get out there and throw. So really happy, and that's what we can do. That's what we can get, really good starts out of those lefties. We'll see what we'll do on the other day, relative to the rotation. But very exciting for Dermody. He's going to be a force for us. Just when he is locating that fastball the way that we want him to, it's tough. It makes hitters, especially right-handed hitters, really uncomfortable when you get it in under the hands and then elevating it. And then, not to mention he can have multiple pitches, all-speed pitches that he can handle as well.
With DuPont being out, you've had to play a little bit more depth in your lineup. Just what have you seen depth-wise from your team from an offensive and defensive standpoint?
Yeah, well, I alluded to the Alabama A&M game. That was Dean Hanna's first start. All right, so knew what he could be offensively, just kind of waiting for the right moment to slide him in there. And he has a line out and he has a base hit his first game. And I thought the strikeout was fine. Just swung at the right pitches. And I thought he earned another start there in the DH role, right? And so when DuPont comes out, obviously, I really like Haggard at first base, but you got to move him back over and get some guys in there at first. And so right away you saw it kind of impact. Like DuPont is just nothing he does is sexy, but he's a veteran player. And you can kind of see where he kind of stirs the drink sometimes. So that game on Tuesday he was 3 for 6. And just affected the game. He's just played a lot of games. He's got a calming presence, I think. He can lighten up the room with the players, and so getting him back will be it'll be exciting. He stands in there, he takes his walks, he gets hit by pitches, and he's if you talk to him, he wants to get even better in the box. Just his fastball timing, he's kind of upset with some ABs prior to getting injured. But that's DuPont, man. He plays with an edge, plays with a chip on his shoulder. Been told he's too small his whole life, and just shows up and keeps punching.
Coach, as you mentioned, 5 games this week, and looking ahead to next week, you guys will play 4 different teams in a span of a week. As far as this past weekend, facing a bunch of teams, how does that help set you up for the week? And also these first couple single games, how are you guys looking to have that set you up for these upcoming seasons? Yeah,
I thought it was good, preparing for multiple teams. I mean, it was, it was fine. It was fine. We'll do it this week. Gramblin's going to come in and play. They're going to play tough. They're going to play, I just talked to their head coach on the phone, lining up some things for tomorrow. They play with some grit, and they'll be ready to go. And, I think our guys will be ready to go. They're itching to get back on the field. I have to give them an off day today, but there's going to be guys up there hitting and then doing their thing. I like all these games early. Obviously, you want to win them all, but there's just learning. We are learning this team, okay? And like we said, they're learning the process as well. But it'll be good. The double midweek again. That's 18 innings where some arms got to step in and go. And so I want to see Skerich again get back in there, because Skerich has really good stuff, okay? And so if he can get to where he's constantly flooding the zone, he's a really tough arm to hit. And then Stramiska as well to come back in there, get back in there and go. I thought Dabbs, he got his first collegiate outing, was fine on Saturday. Guys like Roark can be ready to go again. Joyner. That's Joyner. We got to get him going, get him in the zone. Again, a mentality deal. I want him attacking and just to get out there with confidence. There's just signs that I think show their face a little bit, that the confidence isn't quite there. When we make a punch out in a moment and there's just so much emotion, if it's like, that's a bad sign to me at some point. Like there's a time and a moment for that in certain parts of the season, certain parts of the game. But when we just punch a guy out to get off the inning, like that's what you're expected to do right there. Let's not exhaust so much energy, get to the dugout, and then be ready to go the next inning. So just the maturing right there. And that aspect, and that's not just one guy, that's a few. And that's just learning the process of being a professional and know how to handle things on the mound. And that's stuff we talk about, and we got to teach them. Like I really like teaching this group, and I want to chisel them out to get them to, where we want to be. And so, double midweek, lots of innings to fill. I think it will keep the hitters sharp with all these ABs, which I thought was a plus to having a lot of games early. You get a lot of ABs early in the year, and it'll be good. And then Western Illinois comes to town. Haven't looked that far ahead yet, but it'll be good to get back in front of our fans. I thought opening weekend the attendance was awesome. We have another chance to 5-game stand. Really more than that, I think it's a 7-game homestand that we can pack this place and continue to grow, continue to build confidence in our team, and just play some good baseball. Timely hitting, timely pitching. I think the defense has been fine for the most part. We got to keep going.